Standing after the prayer for our Pledge of Allegiance. Gentleman from Rankin.
Pray with me, please. Father God, thank you. Thank you for being all the God that we need. Thank you for all the provisions that you give us. Thank you for always taking care of us. Thank you for your discernment and your understanding. Lord, I thank you for allowing safe travels for all of our members back and forth. I ask you to be with them as they go home this afternoon or tomorrow. Just take care of them, be with them. Be with all of us as we go through this time off. Look after us and take care of us. Let us remember that we belong to you and that you put us in the places that you have us. Lord, just thank you for being there. We have members that will make decisions this year that will affect the rest of their time here and make decisions as to whether they move up or go home. Lord, just be with them as they make those decisions and take care of them. I thank you for taking care of all of our soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines all across the world, especially where they're in harm's way. Look after them, protect them, and take care of them, be with their families back home. Thank you for taking care of our first responders that take care of us every day. Thank you for all the blessings you've given us and all you've done. Bless this day in Jesus' holy name. I pray, amen. Amen. Face the flag, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Close the machine, Madam Clerk.
There's a quorum present, Mr. Speaker.
We will have the reading of the journal. Gentleman from Rankin, Representative Powell moves we dispense with the reading of the journal. All in favor say aye. Opposed no. The ayes have it. Report of select committees.
We have none, Mr. Speaker.
Report of standing committees.
We have reports on the calendar, Mr. Speaker.
Introduction of bills and constitutional amendments. Gentleman from Marion, Mr. Morgan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask unanimous consent to dispense with the reading of the introductions.
Is there objection to this? Hearing none, Mr. Clerk, we will follow that procedure. Resolutions, petitions, memorials, and other papers.
To the Mississippi House of Representatives, message from the Governor, April 8, 2026.
Give the clerk your attention, please. Continue, Mr. Clerk.
I am directed by the Governor to advise you that he has signed House Bill 1924 on April 8th, subject to the following partial vetoes in Section 19. House Bill 1924, an act making an appropriation for the purpose of defraying the expenses of the Office of Attorney General, subject to partial veto of Section 19Q for the Hope Squad for funding to help mitigate negative impacts on youth and adolescents from the opioid crisis by providing tools to proactively identify and help students in need, $500,000. Section 19BB for Gulf Coast Center for Nonviolence Incorporated for funding to expand access to evidence-based residential treatment and recovery services, including counseling and peer support, $800,000. Section 19EE for Finally First for funding life skills training in 15 public schools across 4 counties and train community leaders to lead and support community outreach, $250,000, respectfully submitted, Jenny Zerulnik, Legislative Aid. April 13th, 2026, to the Mississippi House of Representatives, Governor's veto message for House Bill 1648. I'm returning House Bill 1648. House Bill 1648 seeks to establish a second loan program for eligible applicants using GCRF funds. Most troubling about House Bill 1648, it contains absolutely no reporting or monitoring requirements for loan recipients, nor does it contain any audit requirements for the revolving loan fund. Anytime state funds are dispersed from the Treasury, they should be accompanied by a reasonable safeguard to ensure that they are used for their intended purpose and not misused. The complete absence of any monitoring and audit requirements in House Bill 1648 alone is fatal to this proposed legislation. House Bill 1648's proposed bifurcation of the administrative duties of GCRF is a solution in search of a problem where none exist. In sum, while no doubt well-intentioned, House Bill 1648 lacks adequate safeguards to ensure loan proceeds are spent for their intended purpose and adds unnecessary, duplicative administrative cost and complexity to the GCRF program, and I'm compelled to veto it at this time. Respectfully submitted, Tate Reeves, Governor. To the Mississippi House of Representatives, Governor's partial veto of House Bill 1653. I'm returning House Bill 1653. The short title for House Bill 1653 states that Section 4 is adopted to amend Section 28 of Chapter 549, Laws of 2023, as amended by Section 1 of Chapter 510, Laws of 2024, to revise the purposes of certain projects funded with monies dispersed from the 2023 Local Improvements Projects Fund. These are the same appropriations that were contained in Section 28 of House Bill 603 in the 23 session and Section 1 of House Bill 1701 in the 24 regular session. Again, despite the fact that six of these more than 400 separate, distinct, and complete appropriations were previously vetoed in House Bill 603 in the 23 regular session and House Bill 1701 of the 24 regular session. All six appear in Section 4 of House Bill 1653. While I continue to believe the clarifying and correcting of names for certain projects does not reauthorize those appropriations that no longer exist, to avoid any legal ambiguity, I'm vetoing the following appropriations. Section 4M, providing $1 million to the City of Jackson to pay costs associated with renovations and upgrades for the Jackson Planetarium. Section 4BZ, providing $500,000 appropriation for the City of Greenville to pay costs associated with repairs and renovations to Frisbee Park, Greenville Municipal, Maud Bryan Park, and Rounds Park. Section 4GV, providing a $500,000 appropriation to the Mississippi Development Authority for the purpose of providing funding to WISPR systems in Batesville, Mississippi, and research and development to expand the current unnamed aircraft systems manufacturing capabilities in Mississippi. Section 4HV, providing a $300,000 appropriation to the Department of Finance and Administration to pay costs associated with the program established under Section 3 of House Bill 419, 2023 regular session. Section 4JL, providing a $600,000 appropriation to Greene County to assist in paying costs associated with the rehabilitation and repair of the Greene County Rural Event Center. Section 4KP, providing a $1 million appropriation to the City of Jackson to assist in paying costs associated with repairs, renovations, and upgrades to the Jackson Planetarium. This will also include Section 5.2W, providing a $1 million appropriation to the City of Jackson to pay costs associated with the construction of a parking lot and related facilities at the Jackson Convention Center. Section 5.2EE, providing a $50,000 appropriation to Arise and Shine Incorporated to provide programming and services in Copiah County. Section 5.2, providing a $1 million appropriation to the Scenic Rivers Development Alliance for various facility improvements, including golf cart path repairs and course equipment upgrades at Quail Hollow Golf Course. Section 5.2, providing a $250,000 appropriation to the Briarwood Pool to pay costs associated with facility improvements. Section 5.2, providing a $1 million appropriation to the City of Pascagoula to pay costs associated with renovations of city offices. Section 5.2, providing a $2 million appropriation to the City of Jackson to pay costs associated with facility improvements at the Jackson Planetarium. Section 5.2, providing a $200,000 appropriation to the Summit Community Development Foundation to pay costs associated with the Stand Pipe Project. Section 5.2, providing a $500,000 appropriation to the City of Greenville to pay costs associated with construction and development of a downtown green space. Section 5.2, providing a $13,250,000 appropriation to DFA to pay costs associated with the development of LaFleur's Bluff Otto Creek Golf Park and Connector Trail Project. Article 4, Section 73 of the Mississippi Constitution states the governor may veto parts of any appropriation bill and approve parts of the same, and portions shall be law. The removal of these separate, distinct, and complete appropriations does not affect any other appropriations contained in House Bill 1653. Respectfully submitted, Tate Reeves, Governor.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Introduction of guests and visitors. Gentleman from Hines, Mr. Gibbs.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If we turn our attention to the South Gallery, I have a friend and relative that is with us by the name of Latrice Rogers, and she is the owner of Taste Fondren, and she also just finished a food drive, making sure that folks had food during the holiday season for those who are in need, and I just want her to stand and be recognized today.
Welcome, lady. Good to have you. Good to have you. Gentleman from Tate, Mr. Lamar. I'm sorry. Gentleman from DeSoto, Mr. Hall.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Sitting next to my desk mate is the First Lady from House District 24, Miss Tracy Hale, the wife of my desk mate, Jeff Hale. Please make her welcome.
Welcome, lady. Good to have you here. All right. Lady from Hines, Miss Summers.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. We see you, Bells. Thank you for being here today. I also want to recognize Supervisor Wanda Evers from Hinds County District 4. She is the niece of Megger Evers and the daughter of Charles Evers. Please stand and make her feel welcome in the South Gallery. Thank you.
Gentleman from Hines, Mr. Nelson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The lady from Hines kind of beat me to it, but Supervisor Wanda Evers, please stand again. She's an Honorable Supervisor Wanda Evers, District 4, and Vice President of the Hines County Board of Supervisors, and my supervisor. Welcome.
Welcome, lady. Lady from Hines, Miss Foster.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I, too, would like to introduce the supervisor who I work so closely with in my district, Supervisor Wanda Evers, District 4.
Welcome, lady. All right, at this time, I'd recognize the Chairman of Rules. We have one special guest today. He's going to introduce them. Gentleman from Rankin, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, in the South Gallery, along with Representative Holloway, we have a resolution recognizing and commending Dr. Marie Hamilton Abston and Essie Davis Florence. They are the owners of Hamilton Davis Mental Health, Inc. and Hamilton Davis Care at Home, Inc. And we are recognizing them for their outstanding contributions in providing mental health and home care services to the citizens of our great state. So let's all give them a round of applause.
Congratulations, ladies. Good to have you here for us to honor you. We're glad to have you here at your capital. Gentleman from Hines, Mr. Bell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Parliamentary inquiry.
Yes, sir.
On the veto message that was just reported to us on, is there an option for us to take these up in a block vote?
Take them up in a block?
Yes.
I don't believe that's an option, but I appreciate your inquiry. Clerk informs me that has been done before. Gentleman from Pike, Mr. Mims.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. A request, Mr. Speaker.
State your request.
Yes, sir, Mr. Speaker. Due to the fact that the clerk read the veto, I move to return back to Appropriations D Committee the veto line items in House Bill 1924.
All right, gentleman's motion is to recommit. If you favor the gentleman's motion, indicate by saying aye. Lady from Jones, Ms. Scott, for what purpose?
Mr. Speaker, now, under the rule, just so we can be clear, now we can't have a substitute motion, right?
Clerk informs me that you can make a substitute motion, lady. You've not been recognized for a motion. I've recognized him for his motion, and he's made it. It is a debatable motion within very narrow limits, I believe. Right. Those opposed to his motion have 5 minutes if you wish to speak to the motion.
Well, yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, in Rule 103, it says that there are some things that we can do addressing a veto. I thought that it said that the motion would be to allow the governor's veto to stand, but then I looked at it again, and it can be reconsidered to be referral back to the committee. Then I thought that the rule said that a person could be recognized to move to override this particular motion. But let me tell you why I don't think we should recommit this back to the committee and why we ought to consider overriding this. The governor just told you himself when he vetoed this particular bill that it was no oversight, no auditing, no any of that in this bill. But now the Senate has a bill that he vetoed, and it doesn't have any oversight. You know, all I was asking for was some procurement, but he seemed to have a problem with procurement in that bill, and so he doesn't want to have procurement in that bill. But in this Attorney General's bill, the Coast people and the lady from Canton, we all know it was a glitch. We all know that these people's programs have been vetted. And we should not send these programs back to the committee. If there was only one program that was not vetted, and that was the one that didn't get there timely. So let us not recommit these programs. These are needed programs on the coast and in Jackson or Canton or wherever it is that they're going to be. But the main reason why is because you ought to be sick and tired. You ought to be sick and tired now. You come in here and make decisions. You read over all this stuff, you vet this stuff, you stay up here to 12 o'clock at night. And these people over here at the governor's office pick and choose with no rhyme or reason. They certainly can't say they're consistent in the reasons that they give for their vetoes. We know that's not true. So y'all listen, it is time for us to use the stick on this governor. In my opinion. Let's not recommit this. Let us show him that you have a job, sir. You did your job, and now we're going to do ours. Do not recommit this bill, and let's get this bill back up here and do like Wilson Pickett say, Mustang Sally, ride, Sally ride.
All right. Question occurs on the gentleman's motion to For clarification, the gentleman's motion is to refer the bill back to the committee where it came from. As y'all know, overrides are done a couple of different ways, and I know the lady knows this as well. You can override immediately. You can refer it back to the committee, and the committee comes back and gives you a report suggesting an override. So just because a bill goes back to the committee does not mean you're not going to see it again in an override situation. I hadn't inquired of the gentleman and what the committee's intentions are with regards to that. I'm simply telling you, if I use the word recommit, his actual motion is to refer it back. It's not a recommittal from the standpoint of, like y'all think of bills being recommitted for the purposes of never to be seen again. I'll say it that way. Now, with that in mind, the gentleman's motion is for it to go back. The lady has spoken opposition to that, and I will now put the vote. On the gentleman's motion to refer the bill back to committee, if you favor the gentleman's motion, indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. No. The ayes have it. The ayes have it. Insufficient number. Lady from Amit, Ms. Cockerham.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In light of the clerk's reading of the veto message for House Bill 1653, my request is that we refer House Bill 1653 to the committee from which it came.
All right. Lady makes a similar motion on 1653, Those opposed to that motion have 5 minutes. Lady from Jones, Ms. Scott.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm feeling it today. When the clerk read this veto message, I don't know if you all were listening, but it was projects all over the state of Mississippi that could be considered in this bill. Now, I have been told, and our people are very smart, that these projects are no longer viable. But the good governor of the state of Mississippi vetoed these projects again, projects that had been approved by you, the legislature, some of them as many as 3 times. He did his job. Let's not forget, he has a job to do as well. So he vetoed. But now we got a job to do. Now they say, oh, this will have to go to court. Let's let it go to court, ladies and gentlemen. Let's don't refer this back to the committee, because let me tell you something. The gentleman, my good friend from Pike, really should have come up here and said, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to meet and bring you back a report, but he didn't say that. So I'm saying to you, let's don't take any chances on this one. Let us vote not to refer this back to the committee, and let's let Pascagoula and them fight for their $1 million. Let's let the drone people, your folks, fight for their project. Let's let the convention center try to get that $1 million for their parking lot they've been trying to get 5 years. Let them fight it out. But let us say that the legislature has spoken again on all of these projects, and we say, Do not refer it back to the committee, and then let's go to the next motion. I would ask you to vote no on this referral.
Recognize the lady from the MIP.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen of the House, with respect to House Bill 1653, the Speaker has advised you correctly with respect to how you can handle veto messages in an attempt to override. With respect to House Bill 1653, however, these are vetoes that the governor has previously addressed. He initially vetoed these projects in 2023 and 2024. So all of the projects that are vetoed in 1653 are from previous years. So even if you attempted to override, and I confirmed this with council, even if you attempted to override this, it won't nullify the governor's vetoes that he did previously in 2023 and 2024. The time to override would have been then. So that's why we are referring this back to committee. I ask you to please vote yes in favor of recommitting this bill, because an override procedurally won't work in this instance. Thank you.
Gentleman from Washington, Mr. Hines.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I had a question for the gentlelady.
All right.
Gentlelady, you yield?
Yes.
Is this not a new session?
It's a new session.
Okay.
The projects have been previously overwritten. These are old projects.
So that was not a new bill that was submitted before the committee and went through the process?
It's a new bill, yes, gentlemen. And these
So-
are the, hold on, let me finish and answer your question. This is a new bill, yes, but the projects have previously been vetoed in 2023 and 2024.
I understand that. So if the subject matter has come before this body time after time again, that shows that those communities saw a need for that particular project. Would you not agree if the community, if the legislators constantly come back and try to resubmit the legislation that they see that's a need in their community? Would you not agree with me then?
Gentlemen, I don't have any kind of disagreement with any need for a particular community.
Okay.
I didn't even address that initially in my rebuttal. I'm talking about procedural and what I have discussed with council. I'm not going to debate you about what any community or county needs.
Generally, I'm not trying to debate. I'm asking questions, because it appears that if it was a new piece of legislation, it appears that it's a new bill, and this is a brand new veto. Can I finish asking my question, please?
You sure can.
Okay. So how could a new piece of legislation that's filed in a subsequently new legislative year be an old matter? And he brought that, the governor invoked that he had done it prior, but this was a new piece of legislation in the 2026 session. Is that not correct?
Gentlemen, again, everything that you have said, it's a new bill, it's a new session, it's the same project, and it's a project from the same year that he vetoed. In the governor's veto message, and what the clerk just read, is that he's vetoing it out of an abundance of caution because he previously vetoed it in 2023 and 2024, and it was not overridden.
So, gentlelady, just because this body did not act on a subsequent veto does not mean that this body cannot act on this veto this time. Is that not true?
Gentlemen, I'm going to repeat myself again for the 6th time. I have spoken with council before I came up here, and I'm telling you what council told me.
So generally, is that in writing somewhere that you cannot, in a new subsequent legislative session with a new piece of legislation that has old language in it? Let me finish my question.
Go ahead.
Okay, so in the past, where we have had legislative issues, different type of laws that have been vetoed, the next year we come back with that, and that particular piece of legislation passed without any issue from the governor. That is a new issue on a new session. This particular law that we are putting forward is a new issue in a new session. Although it doesn't matter what he vetoed in the past, this is a new issue in a new session. So show me in writing where the justification is we cannot address an issue that had been previously vetoed. I just need to see it in writing. Just because somebody gives you something subjectively off their mind, don't make it law, don't make it rule. Where is it in writing?
Gentlemen, you can talk to council if you'd like to. I've addressed it. I've entertained all your questions. I don't know what other way I can possibly answer the same question that you've asked me several times. If the body feels as though you would want to try to override it, then you can see procedurally where it goes. But again, I've spoken to council, and I don't have any other way of addressing the same questions that you've asked me redundantly.
Point of clarity, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, sir.
Can this subject matter be laid on the table subject call to council can provide to us in writing where you cannot deal with this matter because it's a new session and a new piece of legislation? All we want to do is see it in writing. So I would ask that we lay it on the table until we can get something in writing saying that this is what it is, not just some subjective matter.
I'm letting her confer with council on that.
So, well, pardon me, I'm going to let the speaker.
You recognize the answer, lady,
Okay,
after
all right.
conferring with council.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I did confer with council again, and council assures me that I am correct, that this is not a new project, gentlemen. This is the project from a previous year's bill. And usually when I get up here and I present this local projects bill, gentlemen, I tell y'all all the time, I say, there's no new money in this bill. All it's doing is correcting. What we did in that conference report was just correct old projects. There were no new projects in this local improvements projects fund bill.
So, gentlelady, is it not a new bill? Just because it is, because the prior session is dead. Why is this not a new piece of legislation? Even though it's old projects or whatever, it is a brand new bill with a new bill number, with new deadlines and whole. It is a entirely new bill. That's all I'm trying to say. Just because there's some old stuff, don't make the fact that it's in a new session an old issue. This is new legislation. And if we're going to allow him to keep vetoing, and when we bring subject matter back here that we work hard for in our communities, for our communities, then what we're saying is we're doing null and void. Why are we wasting time? Why are we even bringing back old bills?
Mr. Speaker, at this particular point, I feel as though I've answered the gentleman's questions sufficiently, and I've consulted with council multiple times. If there are other members who have questions, I'll recognize them. However, I feel as though I've answered the gentleman's questions sufficiently, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, lady. Gentleman from Pike, for what purpose?
Question if the lady will yield.
I will.
You may give the same answer to this question.
I hope it's not the same question.
Well, it shouldn't be.
Okay.
Just for my understanding, because maybe I'm missing something. Are you saying that it is pointless, basically pointless, for these same projects to be resubmitted every year?
When you say same projects,
Well, the old projects, the ones that keep getting vetoed.
I wouldn't necessarily say that it's perhaps pointless. What I will say, though, is that last year, even when these projects were included, they were vetoed. So these projects from the inception, 2023, 2024, we're now into 2026 again, gentlemen. Even though it's a new bill, it's the same projects. It's old projects. There are not any new projects in this bill.
And so if these projects are resubmitted next year in a new bill, forget the new stuff, but if they're resubmitted next year, it's more likely than not that they'll be vetoed again. And us even attempting to even considering overriding that
that veto wouldn't make any sense.
Well, gentlemen, this is the first time, and you've been here quite some time, this is the first time that we've even had any override discussion about this particular bill. It's usually just been referred back to committee.
Okay. Thank you, lady.
You're welcome.
Gentleman from Hines, Mr. Nelson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will the gentlelady yield?
I will.
I have a quick question. I'm new to this process of overriding vetoes, but what I want to know is, what will returning this to committee do for this legislation?
The speaker just told you. He said that it can go back. The speaker gave us all a 101 on override a few minutes ago. So according to the speaker, what he just said is that we can attempt to override it as a whole, or it can go back to the committee, and the committee, if they want to, can decide to override. I don't know what the committee will decide to do, but you've been here, this is your third year. So again, last year, these same projects were vetoed. The governor always says in the message, again, out of an abundance of caution, this is what I'm doing and why.
Okay. These are important projects. I'm just trying to figure out what it is we can do to get them across the finish line.
I couldn't really hear you.
Okay, is that better?
Yes.
I'm just trying to figure out what it is we can do to get these projects across the finish line, so thank you.
You're welcome.
Gentleman from Pike, did you have further question?
I thought of one more. I know you can't speak for the committee as a whole, but as the vice chair of the committee, what is your intent with this piece of legislation that's coming back?
My intent would be to talk to Chairman Reed, to consult with the other chairman of appropriations, to talk with the speaker, and to see how to proceed from there.
Thank you, lady.
You're welcome.
Lady from Hines, Ms. Summers.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would the gentlelady yield?
I will.
In understanding the speaker and what the rule book says in terms of the process.
I can't really hear you too well, lady.
Okay. In understanding what the speaker has said about this particular process as it relates to this bill, if it does go back to committee, is it now the process that the recommendations come forth before we sine die in order to take action?
It would have to be.
Or is it the intent that there will be no recommendations and the bill dies?
I just answered the gentleman from Pike. It sounds like it's the same question, just phrased in a different way. And so that question that you asked, I just answered from the gentleman from Pike, lady.
Well, my question is slightly different. I'm asking in regards to timeline. Because if we sine die today, I guess of my reading of the rules, if we sine die today, then the bill is gone until next session.
That's correct.
So is it your intent to refer this back to the committee to give us an opportunity to understand what the recommendation is from the committee?
Same question, just asked in a different way. There are, 6 chairs of appropriations, as you very well know, and then we have a committee, and then we have our speaker that's leading the charge, lady. And so my answer isn't any different than I just told the gentleman from Pike, is that there would have to be some discussion about it. I'm not going to stand here and tell you that we're going to call a meeting and go down here and consider it right now. We have not had a chance to talk collectively and also talk to the speaker. So it's the same question, just phrased in a different way, and I'm giving you the same answer that I just told the gentleman from Pike, lady.
So can you confirm for me, because I have been here a couple of years, but this is my first time within this particular process of the session. Can you confirm for me if the committee does not report with written recommendations, as you say, you're not sure what the committee is going to do. If you don't come forth with any recommendations, then this bill is done. It's dead.
You're asking me to confirm that?
Yes.
That means if you've been here a while, lady, so if we don't come back with any recommendations, then it's dead.
The bill is dead.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, the veto stands. So essentially, not that the bill is dead, but essentially the veto stands, pardon me. You've been around long enough, lady, you know that.
Thank you so much,
You're
lady.
welcome, always.
Gentleman from Adams.
To speak on the motion at the proper time.
That would be now.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Look, I don't have a dog in this hunt, but in this bill, projects or otherwise. But not to cast any dispersions on anybody, but what I've heard up here just makes no sense. This is a new piece of legislation, whether it's old language or if it's old money, whatever it is, it's impactful enough that the governor found a need to veto it. So here we are. If you want to see this happen, then you ought to be prepared to vote not to refer it back to committee to override. The truth of the matter is, when we refer a bill back to committee, that simply means we're not going to see it again. When we refer a veto message back to committee, we're not going to see it again. If we intend to override, we need to do that. Now, the mechanics of this process is that we may not be taking up some of these bills. We may not be overriding them because we've already found out we don't have the votes to do it. But this idea that there's some consequence of overriding a bill because it's language that was passed in 2023 is just nonsensical and is not true. I don't care what council said it, and before anybody tells me how long I've been here an awful long time, probably longer than some of y'all been alive. And what I've heard here is just not the way it works. If you want to override. If you want to see the veto message stand, send it back to committee. But this idea that there's going to be some harm caused if you vote to override just makes no sense, and all of you out here know it makes no sense. So I would suggest to you that if you got something you're interested in, it may be a waste of time, but vote not to send it back to committee. The reason it may be a waste of time is because it may get over there, and we don't know if they got the votes to override when they came back here to override. But that doesn't mean that you don't have a responsibility to stand up for yourself. So if you feel like this is something that's worthwhile to keep into law and you want to do it. But this idea that if you vote to override, it's going to be some kind of problem. If it's a problem, if it's a dead piece of legislation, what harm does it do for you to override? Out of an abundance of caution, you would at least preserve the right to look at it and see what it does. So I would suggest to you to vote not to refer it back to committee and give yourself a chance to look at it and send a message to the governor. If nothing else, you say to the governor, you can't just run over us and tell us what to do anytime you feel like it. Whenever the itch is or whatever the scratch you're making, it doesn't apply to us. We have a will. We have an understanding. We have done the work. We're sending it back to you. Thank you.
You wish to respond, lady?
So, ladies and gentlemen, I've stood before you and been on appropriations for some time now. And many of you have come to me and asked me various questions about appropriations. You don't ask me questions about Ways and Means. You ask me questions about appropriations. And I don't stand up here and try to talk to you about Ways and Means. I talk to you about appropriations, right? So let me tell you what we did in this particular bill. We brought forth the chapter laws so we could make amendments on old projects. The projects that have been referred to are projects that were vetoed again in 2023 and 2024 that we did not attempt to override. So yes, it's a new bill, ladies and gentlemen, but the projects are not the same. So I would ask you to please vote to recommit this bill procedurally. And you have seen me go back and forth in these hills these last few minutes talking to council. I don't think council would tell me something wrong. The council, all of our council are very knowledgeable. They're not going to tell me anything wrong, okay? So please, let's send this back. I know that these projects that were vetoed are important to you and your community. I understand that. But procedurally, according to council, it's not going to nullify the partial veto on those projects. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Question occurs on the lady's motion to refer back to committee. If you favor the lady's motion, indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. No. The ayes have it. The ayes have it. Roll call is demanded. There is sufficient number. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. If you favor the lady's motion to refer back to committee, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 82 yeas, 33 nays, the motion carries. Lady from Jones, Ms. Scott, for what purpose?
I had wanted to ask a question.
All right. We are going to recess subject to call. I would recognize the gentleman from Rankin for the motion.
Our motion, recess subject to call.
Gentleman's motion is a House recess subject to call. If you favor the motion, indicate by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. House stand in recess subject to call of the chair. Let the House come back to order. I thought the gentleman from Lowndes was going to sing for us the way he was tuning up over there. All right. I recognize the gentleman from Montgomery, one of our appropriations chairmen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We're taking up House Bill 1648. My motion would be for passage of House Bill 1648, a governor's veto notwithstanding, and recognize the gentleman from Hancock, Representative Anderson, to debate the merits of the veto override.
All right, gentleman's motion is to override.
I'm sorry, 1648.
Yeah, House Bill 1648. Gentleman's motion is to override.
House Bill 1648.
Yes, sir. And the gentleman from Hancock is here to answer any questions anyone may have before the vote. Are there questions on the gentleman's motion? Lady from Jones, Ms. Scott.
And why should we override this bill?
Well, this bill is a revolving loan that we're trying to create this year for the Gulf Coast. What it is that we're trying to make the monies from GCRF last longer than just to spend it out, so create this revolving loan. What did he say? To continue, it's kind of like DEQ did with the infrastructure projects. Instead of just spending this money, we can create it for years along, and we're asking for to override this veto to get this program started, and that's basically what we're doing. I can't hear you, ma'am.
Continue, lady.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. So, gentlemen, in the veto message, there was some talk about there was no monitoring, no audit. Is that, I want to be sure now, is this that same project?
Yes, ma'am, but if you refer to line 120 on the bill, the duties and responsibilities under this section shall be paid for by funds or revolving loan. The department, which is Department of Finance, and also the third, shall file an annual report with the Speaker of the House, Lieutenant Governor, the chairs of Appropriations Committee of the House and Senate, and the Legislative Budget Office no later than December 1st of each year. And then it lists from line 128 to 135 the specifics, and I can read them to you if you like, or you can look them up. But it gives a whole outline. We're following the exact rules that MDA has with the GCRF projects. We haven't changed anything. It's clearly written in the bill, and I believe there were some misspoken words on saying that we weren't following procedures and audits when it clearly is written right there, ma'am.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to ask you that, sir, so that it would be clear with the members that in the veto message, there was some language that inferred that there was basically no oversight. But that is not true. That's your understanding, right?
Yes, ma'am. It's clearly written right here and requires annual reporting and audits be done to all entities involved.
And so we have over there at the Senate, there is a bill about rural transformation that there's been some discussion about that there is no or very little. Well, let me put it like this. The House struck the Senate's language, and the bill that the governor vetoed is saying that the House language, which puts in monitoring procedures, procurement procedures, and audits and these kinds of things, just like this bill is doing, all this House is doing is being consistent. Is it not, gentlemen?
Sounds correct to me, ma'am.
And so you're asking the House to override this veto because in order for us to be consistent and not be subject to possible corruption, then we want to go ahead and have legislation that requires audits, monitoring, and that kind of procurement processes and those kinds of things. Right, sir?
1,000%.
All right, gentlemen, I'm for you.
Thank you,
and
ma'am.
I hope you're successful.
Thank you.
Gentleman from Harrison, Mr. Hullum.
Mr. Speaker, I would like to speak on the bill at the appropriate time.
Now would be that time.
Ladies and gentlemen, everybody know what we're up against in the state of Mississippi at this point in time. We have seen many grandmothers, grandfathers, veterans. Income has dwindled down in this state. This is a way that we can make sure they're able to stay in their homes. This is a way we can make sure we're helping them out. This is not a handout. This is a hand up in ensuring the people have dignity and respect, are the ones who need it the most. This is something that should never be taken away from the people of Mississippi. We got to start getting back to righteousness over rhetoric. And this is a bipartisan that this House did. And we need to stand up for this House over anybody who goes against this House and our rules. And I ask you all, please, please support this. And let's give the people, our elderly, our veterans, and our family members the right to be held accountable with made whole, because there is financial accountability in this bill. Thank you all.
All right. I see no further questions, gentlemen. The gentleman spoke on the bill. Question occurs on the gentleman's motion to override. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. If you favor the gentleman's motion, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 111 yeas, 0 nays, motion carries. Anything further, gentlemen?
Mr. Speaker, could I get immediate release on that?
Is there objection to immediate release? Hearing none, we will follow that procedure. All right, I believe the chairman of rules needs to call a meeting. I recognize him for that announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I need to call a rules meeting immediately upon recess.
All right, rules meeting immediately upon recess. And gentleman from Pike for purposes. Yes, sir, gentlemen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I need to call a Appropriations D committee meeting immediately after during recess, Mr. Speaker.
All right, there's Appropriations D meeting immediately upon recess in the Appropriations room. Lady from the Mint, Ms. Cockerham.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to call a full Appropriations A committee meeting immediately at the conclusion of Appropriations D.
All right. Appropriations A, the entire committee will meet immediately after Appropriations D. Any further announcements before we recess? All right. I recognize the gentleman from Rankin for the motion.
I move that the House stand in recess subject to call.
Gentleman's motion is the House stand in recess subject to call of the chair. If you favor the motion, indicate by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. We'll recess especially long enough for these committees to meet, and then we'll be back. Shouldn't be long.
To extend the date of the repealer on the Youth Court Support Program, the Youth Court Support Fund, in the State Treasury, and to amend Section 453361, extend the date of the repealer on the statute prohibiting a person convicted of a sex offense from accessing the My Kids program, and to amend Section 9331.3, the Mississippi Code of 1972, to extend the date of the repealer on the statute authorizing a parent to execute a power of attorney to delegate to another person certain powers regarding the care and custody of a child and for related purposes. And Mr. Speaker, that's my explanation of the resolution.
Questions on the resolution? I don't see any, gentlemen.
Final passage.
He moves final passage. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. If you favor the resolution, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote no. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 96 yeas, 10 nays, the resolution passes. Anything further, gentlemen?
I would like immediate release on that.
Gentlemen request immediate release on the resolution. Hearing no objection, we'll follow that procedure. All right, I recognize the gentleman from Pike, Chairman of Appropriations D. He is back from their brief committee meeting. Gentlemen, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My motion is to pass House Bill 1924, the governor's veto notwithstanding. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, we had met Appropriations D and Appropriation A committee and passed these line items out of those committees. There was line item by the governor. Several of our House members are become experts on the opioid settlement, and 3 of those have worked really hard on these issues, and they highly recommend that we pass these line items. One was for $500,000 for the Hope Squad funding. One was $800,000 for the Gulf Coast Center for Nonviolence, and one was for $250,000 for the funding for life skills. And so, Mr. Speaker, that is my explanation, and that is my motion.
Questions on the gentleman's motion? I see no questions. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. If you favor the gentleman's motion to override, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 110 yeas, 0 nays, gentleman's motion carries. All right. I believe that concludes the work we can do at this point. We will need the Senate to pass that resolution before our Judiciary A committee can take up and further consider House Bill 938 with the youth court repealers in it. So we will, we can't even call that committee meeting with the chairman until they pass that resolution. So we will recess subject to call and see where we are with the other end. Before we do that, gentleman from Pike, Mr. Mims, for what purpose?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would ask for immediate release.
All right, gentleman's motion is for immediate release of that. Clerk informs me we don't have to immediate release on these today, it being sine die. for whatever that's worth. All right, I see no one else seeking recognition. I will recognize the gentleman from Rankin for the motion.
I move that the House recess subject to call.
Gentleman's motion is the House stand in recess subject to call. If you favor the motion, indicate by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. House stand in recess subject to call. We certainly join you in that adjourn in memory. If you do not wish to be added as a co-author, please go by the clerk's office. Otherwise, we'll add the entire body. Lady from Pearl River, Ms. Wilkes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Adjourn in memory.
Yes, ma'am.
On behalf of myself and Representative Crawford, I'd like to adjourn in memory of Mr. Otis Brumfield from Pass Christian. He died on April 12th. He was a UPS driver for over 30 years. He knew everyone. You never saw him without a smile on his face, and he may only have met you one time, but he never forgot a name or a face. And I ask you if you to remember his family in prayer.
Thank you, lady. We will do that. Gentleman from Harrison, Mr. Haney.
Adjourn in memory.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Speaker, we lost a World War II veteran from Gulfport, 105 years old, Mr. George Roberts. He flew in Normandy. He was a B-17 pilot. Years of youth sports. Just a fine gentleman. Like us, adjourn in memory.
Thank you, gentlemen. We will certainly join you in that. Lady from Lowndes, Ms. McLean.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Adjourn in memory.
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to adjourn in memory of William Lee Sanders, Jr. from Columbus, who passed away on the 12th of April. He's an important part of our community, a former owner of Sanders Oil, and will be dearly missed. Thank you.
Thank you, lady. We will certainly do that. Any further announcements? Who is that? Somebody said adjourn in memory of the Senate. I don't know about that. We better not do that. All right, I see no further announcements. I recognize the gentleman from Rankin for the motion.
Well, I could get Haney to come do a little speech for us. Okay. My motion is sine die.
Gentleman's motion is that the House stand adjourned, sine die. If you favor that motion, indicate by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The House will stand adjourned for the 2026 regular session, sine die.